Good morning, good afternoon or good evening, and welcome to sunny London. The sun is shining, I've got my shades on, and I've brought my C63 into London to give you guys a well-rounded overview of what it has been like to live with and what it has also been like to own this Mercedes C63. If you missed my modification video and how much all of the modifications have cost, then head over to the link in the description where you get to see a kind of like a preview of what this video is going to be, because we're going to put all of those modifications to the test. There are numerous C63 reviews out there, but none that are 625 brake horsepower, 800 plus Newton meters of torque, and have got all of the modifications that I've got on this car. I think this is the perfect opportunity to go for a little drive, try and find some supercars underneath the London sunshine, but at the same time answer a few questions as to what it is like to live with that car. I've got a few pros, I've got a few cons. It might not be the best daily I've ever owned, and I will answer that question in this video. So I'm going to get the cameras rigged up. When the weather is this good, it is hard not to love London. Always forget how high the curbs are in London. And I don't want to scrape the door immediately. Let's start this car up and open some windows, because it's, I mean, the car is saying it's 20 degrees, but it is much warmer than that. What I love about this car is the sunroof. It makes you feel like you're actually driving a convertible, the closest thing to a convertible. It's just so nice. So I've now completed 5,000 miles in the C63 with and without the modifications. So the car obviously started stock, and since then I have done 7 modifications, and I think let's start with the exhaust system, because it's the most noticeable. I mean, the wrap probably is, but when you've got the ability to have the entire car in comfort mode, but with the valves on, I forgot how difficult it was to drive around London. So we're going to try and drive around London and also talk at the same time. So the exhaust system, yeah, it is, it's brutal, it's raw, and it's full of character. It's got pops and bangs when you least expect it, and that's what I love about it. Is it's so natural, and the sounds that come off it are so natural. It's hard to predict when you're going to get a pop or when you're going to get a bang. Sometimes you get it on the upshift, sometimes you get it on the downshift, but it is the coolest modification I've done to the car, because like, it's so brutal. That was probably to about 3,500 revs. Brook Race Exhaust have made an unbelievable system that when you switch it off, it becomes like a normal C63 or normal C-Class. Like, it is almost silent, and maybe that's because it's so loud when you turn it off, like, it just becomes so tolerable. And I love cruising around with the exhaust valves off, mainly because otherwise people might just think that I'm an absolute driving this car that's been wrapped like this and has got an ASBO exhaust. It is by far the most ASBO car that I've ever owned. Some people might just think I'm the biggest tool going, driving around in a camouflage C63 with such a loud exhaust system. And I think now that we're talking a little bit more about the wrap, let's talk about the wrap actually, yeah, because I've got quite a lot to say about it, and it's quite difficult to explain, but I'm going to do my best to explain it. The idea that I had for the camouflage came from 2 cars that I related to when I collected the car. The inspiration came from a McLaren 570S, and it also came from a LaFerrari. Now those two cars looked amazing and I fell in love with them. But the flip side to looking at a car and thinking that it looks cool on Instagram to then having it on my own car that I drive every day is totally different. And actually experiencing the amount of attention that comes from driving this car around is quite overwhelming. Every time that I've driven this car, I've had 2 or more cars follow me all the way. So I've had to detour, I've had to do a couple of loops around the roundabout. I've had people speed up so they come right next to me and then take millions of photos and have it on photo burst. And it's just like a complete shock to the system driving around from a grey C63, which did look cool and it got a really good amount of attention from people that really appreciated it, to now every single person looks at the car. And I'm a little bit nervous when I drive it about who is judging me based on the way that my car looks, but also who even recognizes the car from the YouTube channel, because if that's the case, then they probably understand why the car looks like it does. But to anyone that doesn't know the channel, I just get a little bit freaked out about what they actually think of the driver that's driving this car. Maybe I should be a bit more of a free spirit, but I can't help but feel self-conscious driving this car around in the current wrap. I think I prefer looking at cars like this on Instagram that are mine, if that makes sense. Yep, it's a V12 DB11. The last time I made a video with my C63 in London was actually just after the suspension had been done on the car. And I have to say, it's very livable. Livable. It's very livable. And something that I was really surprised by. There is a GT2 RS in there. A white one. What's the number plate? It's a Qatari. That's very cool. I believe the modifications that have been installed on the C63 have made the stock C63 better. Because I've got a faster, better performing, loud, aggressive looking European muscle car. I said it in the modification video, this is a European muscle car and I love it. I love the sound of it, I love the looks of it, it's comfy. I did Monaco in a day and it was honestly like the easiest drive that I've ever done, and it was 14 hours long. But there is one factor in this car that has come from factory that I have not got on with since I bought the car, and why I'm still not convinced that this is a better car to drive than my BMW M3. The M3 chassis is probably the most well-balanced chassis that I've ever driven, and I drove it on the edge, I drove it on the limit, I had traction off, and the understanding that I had for that car was nothing like this. But this isn't even the thing that I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is the steering. And I made a big deal about it in the BMW M3, that the steering and the weight and the feedback that you got through the front wheels in the M3 was so rewarding to drive that when you were driving it hard, it gave you the confidence to push on, and you never felt like you were manhandling the car. In this, the AMG steering is a little bit too light. It's got the looks, it's got the sound, it's got the interior over the M3. This looks better, it's a nicer place to sit, and it sounds so much better. But the actual driving element of sitting behind the wheel and going on long drives and going on hoons down B roads, I would prefer to be in the BMW M3. That is my honest opinion. And I bought this car because it looked better, sounded better, and looked nicer inside than the BMW M3. They were my 3 reasons why I bought the C63. Because it's a cooler looking car. But it's not better. But it might be to some people. So just kind of like my thoughts on the car after 5,000 miles. Long distance driving, fantastic. Road trips, brilliant. But when you come to the country B roads, I'm not entirely sure on the limit of where this car is. It's a bit of a monster. If you don't look back at the car when you've parked it up, then you've bought the wrong car. And I look back at this way more than I did at the BMW M3. I'm quite a confused little mess at the moment, but from fairly early days, from making that drastic switch between the M3 and the C63, I've always thought and felt that the M3 was actually a better car to drive. Oh, R8 Spider, yes. Now I am jealous of him, that's a plus as well. That's a V10 Plus Spider. Could that be the best daily? Right guys, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for watching. Hopefully you've enjoyed this little insight into what it has been like for me to live with and own this Mercedes C63 AMG. I'm gonna leave it there. Thank you very much for watching, and yes, please comment below. £50,000, what is the best car that you can buy that ticks all of the boxes for a daily driver? And remember, you need to look and sound as cool as the C63 AMG. Thank you very much for watching. I will see you very soon. Please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already. Take care, goodbye, see ya.